So, welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews, where we discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes, their challenges, and what's really driving them forwards. And this afternoon, I'm delighted to have with us Aidan Halliday, who's co-founder at Jobdeck. And obviously, we spoke to Jack a year or two ago, Aidan. But firstly, welcome to you. If you'd like to introduce yourself, Jobdeck, what you do, how you help people, that would be wonderful.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Thank you for the invite to come along and talk about Jobdeck to your kind of audience. So Jobdeck is a hiring platform for SME businesses. Um, we have been going around 4 or 5 years now.
Yep.
It was co-founded, so it was founded by my business partner Richard McGawley, with very much a remit of making recruitment easier.
Yep.
Making his job a lot easier. He was an exec recruiter. He said there's a lot of benefits for automation and using AI
Yep.
within recruitment, and we wanted to bring those into his job and therefore give a better candidate experience. And then therefore the employer will get a better quality kind of candidate as well. So there was a lot of what Richard's really passionate about. It formed the kind of start of JobDeck. So what I've done to take that forward, so I've been in the business 18 months now, is I've come in as an investor. And we've really brought that platform from what it was, which was very much a kind of media machine that would
Yep.
promote just the kind of jobs, to a full hiring platform now that is really focused around SMEs and helping them find the best quality candidates they can, and really promote their brand. And because in a competitive marketplace, you're going up against large established kind of corporates where they would be very much, these people will be looking at giving them more of a career path than maybe what you get within an SME. And what you want to create is a very professional environment and a very professional service. And through the hiring process, give them a really great experience. So that's what JobDex does. It provides people with a way of giving a very professional kind of candidate experience.
Brilliant. Brilliant. And great that you're focusing on the SME marketplace, because I think it is very difficult as
Mm.
as we sort of said before we started, was SME business owners and leaders, they're juggling so many balls that
Mm.
having something that they can rely on from a recruitment point of view is going to be really, really, really helpful.
Yeah, 'cause effectively what JobDeck is an expert recruiter for them.
Brilliant.
Because what we've developed in partnership with IBM, so that's the new thing that happened between the last kind of time we're on this on the
Yes.
product. We've created a job and global IBM partnership. So they
Wow.
help us with our job matching. So what we do within our process is we take a CV, we normalize the CV, and then we match the CV against the actual job description. And then at a skills-based level, we make a decision on whether they're a really good match or not.
Yep.
And it becomes a score between 0 and 100. And it's not using AI to do that matching. It's actually an algorithm that IBM have developed in partnership with ourselves. And it can match pretty much against any job and many kind of geographies. So we've done work in the US, in the UK, in
Brilliant.
Ireland, India, in Dubai, across Europe. It is really a very clever piece of software developed with them. And even at the IBM conference, so the IBM conference was, I think, probably October last year. There was an article in the Times Online, and with three organisations covered in that article. There was Royal Bank of Scotland, there was the NHS, and there was Jobdeck, which
Wow.
is a real feather in our cap that we were.
Wow.
Yeah, because what IBM wanted to do, they wanted to see that we can work with startups and we can work with established businesses. So we had an article in the Times. Yeah, this was back in kind of October time.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was a great feather in our cap, and IBM have put our partnership onto their LinkedIn socials, which have 25 million followers. So we've got a kind of nice little kind of boost in respect of kind of leads in on the back of that, and we've got a bit of we're quite unique and we're quite lucky to kind of get that. But it was a great experience working with IBM, and they were brilliant. They probably give us 25 to 40 of their data scientists, data engineers, software engineers. It was to create something that is unique in the marketplace, and we can do it at scale. Yeah, it's
Amazing.
powerful. Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. Well, look, maybe if we look backwards to start with, if we get a little bit more about your background, how you got into business and why this particular one. Obviously, you mentioned through the investment route, but quite keen to know how that all occurred.
Yeah, sure. So I suppose if I go back to, I'm reasonably old, so I've got plenty of things to kind of talk about. I could talk back to my Nissan, working in a Nissan car factory as a welder, but I think that's probably a bit too
Oh,
far.
fascinating.
But yeah, so I think after kind of, so that was before university. I did that for kind of a few years really, when I wasn't really focused on my career. It was just
Yep.
kind of beer money and going out money as a kind of young lad. We kind of went back to education, went to university, completed university, worked in America. I worked in Australia for a year, traveled, did the Southeast Asia thing as a lot of people do. Came back to England and got a job at Barclays Bank in Sunderland, and I worked there for about 15 months. Got a promotion to Leeds,
Yep.
which where I live now. I've lived here for more than 20 years. Haven't lost my accent clearly. Um, and then I worked, and then from there worked within credit scoring within Barclays. And then from that, moved into the kind of sales side, went into a business called Scorus, acquired by Experian, and then had a series of kind of roles within that kind of space. And then my last one, which was the more important one, was Foremost. So I joined Foremost, and it was pretty much 10 people at the time.
Right.
Today it turns over about 40 million pounds revenue, about 300 consultants. So going in there was a great experience.
Yep.
Turning it from a 10-person business with one client to 75 clients, 300 people, various life insurance practice, a data practice, a banking consultancy practice, and going up against Deloitte, KPMG,
Yep.
and those big guys, Ernst and Young, and winning on a regular basis,
Brilliant.
um, was a great experience, and I think that was pretty much so far my kind of career highlight.
Yeah.
Job hasn't finished yet, so that might overtake it. But at the minute, yeah, it's definitely it was definitely the kind of the best experience. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot from that. We had a couple of transactions during that where we took money off the table,
Yep.
which at the time wasn't the best part.
Right.
We all got the founders, the guys who kind of grew, all got a big check after about 3-4 years. And for 2 weeks, you're walking around high fiving each other.
Yeah.
So that it was like a complete downer. You were like, oh,
Yeah.
what
What did you do?
now? What next?
I yeah, totally get
And
that.
it was the journey. It was the journey that was the best part. It
Yes.
was those late nights working on pitches. It was going to pitches, losing deals, winning deals, supporting each other, growing the business. Those are the fun things you kind of remember. But it was a kind of great time. And then, foremost after kind of 10 years, I had just kind of done foremost. I've always got a bit of a 5-year clock for whatever reason in my head. It's a
Right.
5 year.
Yeah.
But Mark Summers, who founded Foremost, convinced me to stay for another kind of 5 years. Because I can enjoy Mark. He's a good friend of mine. And then it just came to an end for me.
Yeah.
It wasn't enjoy. It became not a stale business, but it became a very safe business. And then I met Richard through a kind of personal kind of relationship. And he showed me what the tech was about 18 months ago now. Not come up to 2 years actually. We met in Leeds. He showed me what he had, which was the media machine, which is where we take a job description, turn it into a TikTok video, just that part of
Right.
the platform. And I just thought, brilliant. I just kind of loved it. I thought, oh, it's definitely going to have a place in the market. And I invested into Jobdeck, and then we've been kind of on this journey together. Ups, downs, sideways. But I think at last, feel like we're getting somewhere. It feels that working with clients who turn around and say to us, because the automation within the system, because we're removing a lot of manual tasks, it allows them to get back to the part of the job they actually love,
Yes.
which isn't admin, it's working with candidates,
Absolutely.
talking around the benefits of the brand, talking about what life would be like working for this
Yep.
business, and helping tier talent acquisition professionals or hiring managers within small businesses,
Brilliant.
helping them do that and taking a lot of the admin heavy tasks off the job, off their desk, has been some real kind of highlights for us. Absolutely.
Brilliant. Brilliant. And as you've grown, what would you say some of the biggest issues and challenges you've had to overcome?
Within Jobdeck or just in general?
Well, I guess in general, you obviously did quite a few different experiences, but what
Yeah.
are some of the sort of key challenges that you faced?
Um, I think it was just kind of establishing. I've always worked in kind of small businesses.
Yeah.
The business I worked in were very small kind of entities at the time. So it was getting out in front of these decision makers.
Yes.
So I could, like, for example, at Foremost, Virgin Money, we did a deal with Virgin Money, but before we got that deal signed, um, the people who on the ground, effectively the middle manager, wanted to work with us, but then they had to go to the C-suite and say we want to use this Foremost business that the C-suite hadn't even heard of before.
Right.
Um, and therefore they had to go into bat for us to actually get that deal
Yes.
kind of over the line and say these guys, because we were up against Deloitte, so it was us versus Deloitte. Deloitte are a massive
Yeah.
global consultancy business where it's like the old saying, no one gets fired for buying IBM. In the
Yeah.
consultancy world, no one gets fired for buying Deloitte because Deloitte are the
No.
best.
Agreed.
Yeah. So so they had to go into bat for us to say these guys are fantastic,
Yeah.
trust them, they'll do a great job. And we had to do a great job. And we had to do a great job every single engagement
Yeah.
because if we dropped the ball, the old industry that I was in financial services is quite incestuous.
Yes.
And and everyone would hear about or foremost messed up that, and we would be making life for us 100 times kind of harder. Whereas Deloitte, KPMG, PwC, they have a literally of bad programs that they've worked and they just bounce off them because they're in with the accountancy side or the audit side or the business
Yeah.
consultant side. So they just goes round and round and round like a big old kind of cabal of
Yes.
you know, because and the C-suite will never trust Foremost over Deloitte. And when we were very much on some big strategic programs at Virgin Money and other places, they always had to get a big four consultancy firm to come in and be the kind of adult in the room and run the governance and run the program. But we were always in there doing the doing.
Yeah.
So
Doing.
I think it's just establishing in multiple places the brand. And I think
Yeah.
particularly recruitment, it's particularly hard. It's a very noisy marketplace
Yes.
where there's hundreds, literally hundreds of vendors,
Yeah.
thousands of recruiters all trying to get to the kind of same person. So I think that
Yeah.
in respect of, it's establishing that brand and that credibility. And as soon as you can do that, then the conversation will come and then your
Right.
reputation builds and then you can build a kind of business off the back of that. But I've always been in sales, so that's always been my hardest thing to do is
Yeah.
establishing that kind of brand and that initial kind of conversation and that, even doing a small piece of work, we should do it for almost like a 10 grand piece of work just to prove ourselves. We send heads into 20 grand, into a 40, into a 100, into a program. So yeah,
Yeah. 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 And what would you say are the biggest things you've learned about growing a business?
we've grown the business. I think hiring smart, hiring the
Yes.
best people. I think going back to the previous business was everyone who we hired at a senior level brought business in because they
Right.
had their own established networks. And I think that was, having a sales team, but then it was a partnership, like a partner approach on top, who they were
Yep.
the subject matter experts. And they always came with connections and they
Yep.
came eventually with kind of work. So I think that, having an established network and hiring people with an established network with a good reputation,
Yep.
most people are gold,
Brilliant.
because it makes my life a lot easier because, like I
Yes.
said before, getting in the room is definitely the kind of challenge.
Yep. Yeah, no, that makes lots of sense. And you're probably aware we're a business coaching organization. I'm keen to know the best coaches you've worked with, whether that's business, sport, life in general. Who's had the biggest impact on you?
I've had a couple of kind of managers. One called Gary Scott. I worked with Decision Metrics and Scorex. He was the MD of Scorex and one of the founders of Decision Metrics. So that was my business before Foremost.
Yep.
Um, yeah, it was all about respect and it was all about being organized and it was having a process and thinking things through and doing what you'll say and delivering on that
Yes.
promise will always lead to kind of more work.
Yeah.
There's another guy called Steve Bradford, from a sales perspective. This very much process driven sales process.
Yeah,
Think when you go into a meeting, what questions do you want answered? Where will those questions lead to? Map that kind of stuff out.
yeah,
Uh, process. Don't go in there being your kind of salesman, gunslinging salesman with the kind of few sayings and stuff. It was just, prepare for that, but put a good couple of hours in before
yeah.
every meeting to prep what you want to get out of it, and just be very process oriented
It's,
was Steve's big
yeah,
takeaway.
makes perfect sense. I mean, I work with a lot of people on sales, and
Mm,
this assumption you've just got to be sales is a personality or an identity or something like that.
yeah,
It's very much a process, and the closer you follow a process that works for you, then the more effective you're going to be with that shadow of it. You can add to it with personality and things, but it's
yeah.
about the sales process. Couldn't agree more. And
And I think, sorry, so just a final one,
yeah,
Chris,
please.
because in my career, I've never been in the room when the decision was made, because these were always large contracts. So it wasn't
Right.
like I was selling to consumers in a car
Yes.
showroom, So you always had to put everything out and be as processed and have all those, benefits all laid out very clearly. So then they could take that to their manager to get
Yeah.
signed, because then they would have the other options on the table, because there was always other options. It wasn't just never just us just going in and kind of pitching and winning. So that had to be very professional and very kind of organized.
Of course, makes perfect sense. And
Mm.
have you did mention say, but have you got any favorite quotes or sayings about business, about sales, whatever that you find yourself using a lot?
Well, I think it's always people buy from people they like. I think
Yes.
that, I always remember one of my first sales ever, with kind of Coventry Building Society 20 odd years ago. Mike said to me, "Yeah, I like working with you and I like doing business with you." And he went, "Yeah, people buy from people they like." And
Yeah.
it is true. And it's not about being you kind of smarmy salesman. It's about being genuine and saying no as much as it's saying yes, and being very upfront and honest,
Yeah.
and what the scope of the deal is, and
Yes.
being transparent on pricing, and not doing what I do see, particularly the last place with competitors, was the kind of scope creep, or that wasn't included, so you need another 20 grand. Oh no, that's not included. Or so we've overrun because of your problems, therefore another. And foremost, we were very tight on scope and what
Right.
we delivered, and it was it was a good experience for our
Brilliant.
client.
And do you have any favorite books that you've read on business success, personal development? Is anything that stands out for you? Some people don't, but I'm always keen to look.
Yeah. I'm actually looking at a few now. There's a book by kind of Naval Ravikant called the Almanac. Right,
Ah,
that's really interesting,
oh,
because that's basically his how he invests, how he looks at business, how he
yep.
should look at things. I think that's interesting. There's a business called Zero to One by Peter Thiel,
Oh,
who's
yes.
an investor from Facebook, and
Yep.
other investments that he's made. So that's a bit of a Bible
Yep.
for me. Going from zero to one is zero to a million.
Yep.
That's kind of what it means, of how you do a startup, how you focus your sectors,
Yes.
how you should scale it,
Yep.
from startup to scale up to, should you bootstrap, should you get VC investment? So it's a bit of a Bible. So I think that's
Brilliant.
and then there was seven, what's it called? I think seven principles of highly effective people. I can't, this is go
Habits. Yep. Stephen
habits.
Covey. Bang on.
That was, I probably read that 20 years ago.
Yep.
Um, and I think that was always, I
Yep.
think there's some really good stuff in there. Um,
It's a great book.
Start with the end in mind. I remember that. And I think that for life is a life thing. I think is really good. Start with the end in mind.
I,
But
I
process or anything.
I couldn't agree more. I think there's a bit that he says, he talks start the end mind, and the phrase I love that I think is in the book is he says, "There's no point climbing the ladder of success to find you put it up against the wrong wall."
Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
just love that because it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
what do you really want? There's the
yeah,
bit that you think you want, or you think other people want you to have, but then there's this the
yeah.
real stuff. What's going to make you happy and content? And
Yeah, because
brilliant.
But I think reading is I was always, my friends would come round. This is 25 years ago. I'd always have one of those books around.
Yes.
Those, and I'll be a bit ribbed about it by
Yep.
friends, another self-help book or another business guru book. But, they do help because they do drip into your
Yes.
life. And I think they
Yes.
do help you, whether it's subconsciously or consciously.
Yes.
Um, Constantly reading, constantly learning, constantly investing in yourself, whether it's fitness or business courses or business books. I think it's invaluable to have a long and successful career. Not
Yep.
think I'll know it all now, but constantly investing and reinventing yourself, I think is definitely important.
Yeah, there's always something new to learn, isn't there? Really, because things are changing so fast. I mean,
Yeah.
AI is an example. It's just like the whole brand, whole bunch of new stuff to learn, and how it can help us. And
Yeah, because I think because of AI, I think we will probably see the first billion-dollar company by one person,
yes,
owned and by one person.
it's
I think I will see that in the next 4 years. It's going to be,
interesting. I like that. Yeah, that's fascinating.
yeah,
I think you're probably right. Yeah, I think you're probably right.
because
And it will be that person that's just gone right. I'm going to build it with purely with AI, and the
yeah,
ability there for it to scale is
yeah.
incredible.
I can also, because the thing with AI, there's like no moat. So in business, you always have to think about trying to create a moat so competitors can't come into your
Yes.
moat. But AI kind of removes that because
Yeah.
what would it took a developer probably, let's say, 6 months? You could be doing it in a week with AI
Yeah.
level coding.
Yeah.
It's really created a level playing field that best ideas are going to win, pretty much.
That's very thought provoking, and I
Yeah,
absolutely
you
agree.
know, yeah, because you are literally going to start talking to things. The kind of agentic AI is a bit of the thing now for 2025 and so on, agentic AI.
Yes.
And Jobdeck will become an agentic system probably in the middle of this year that you can literally talk to it.
Right.
Find me this candidate, find me
Yeah.
that candidate, find a candidate with this type of experience from a database.
Yes.
Bring up here's the kind of candidates.
Yeah.
So, and I think our lives will kind of revolve into that. That we'll just start talking. There'll be something that we'll talk to, a phone or whatever, and that'll just run our lives. Um, and then eventually, in respect of career guidance, we'll have our own personal co-pilot that will
Yeah.
talk to the co-pilot for all these various companies, and they'll make a decision on whether you're a good fit.
Yeah.
And that will definitely be the future, the next kind of 4 or 5 years. Absolutely.
Fascinating. A-
Mm.
Absolutely fascinating. And talk about learning. What have you learned about yourself on your journey so far, Aidan?
Yeah, I think resilience is the number one thing.
Yeah.
Any kind of startup, resilience. And I think you have to find wins in places
Yeah.
that aren't necessarily a sale.
Yes.
Especially starting off, there has to be
Yes.
I'm going to do 30 connections. I'm going to do 30 phone calls. I'm going to do 30 emails. I'm going to do whatever those metrics are, and
Yeah.
stick to those metrics. And be obsessive about sticking to those kind of metrics.
Yes.
And I think that will over time compound, and then you will get conversations eventually because you have
Yeah.
to. You're doing these things so often.
Yes.
You have to have, with that much activity, finding some
Yeah.
conversation driving that business forward.
It it's a really good point about resilience is that celebration. It's something we do a lot with the people we work with. It's because we find that entrepreneurial people typically don't celebrate. They're always looking about what they haven't achieved rather than what they have.
Yeah.
And I believe celebration builds resilience. That idea of saying, yeah, well, it was good. Well done. So yeah,
Yes. Yeah,
it,
and I think that is a problem with entrepreneurs and
yes.
people that are ambitious, and that we don't do that.
Yeah.
We always, "Well, I haven't done this. I haven't founded my own business. I haven't founded a unicorn yet. I haven't founded a,
Yep.
whatever it is.
Yep.
There's always a reason that we haven't achieved enough.
Yeah.
Whereas if we sit down and go, think about everyone I went to school with, who's achieved what I've achieved, who's built a business themselves,
Great.
so as a way of just trying to say, I am quite unique here,
Yep.
and I should celebrate more. Yeah, absolutely.
Bang on. I couldn't agree more. We do Big Bitter. We've just finished a 90-day planning session on Tuesday, which was like we looked back
Yeah,
over last year and looked at what we could celebrate. And there was amazing things, and yet,
yeah, yeah,
and how have you celebrated? Well, not really. And it's like, well, as I say,
yeah,
because the point and I think most people get this, at the point at which you get up in the morning and you go, why the hell am I doing this? You've
yeah,
got to have an answer. If you
yeah, yeah,
don't have an
absolutely.
answer,
Yeah,
it
your why. Yeah,
gets tough. It gets tough.
yeah.
Um,
Because if you haven't got that, then you're never going to get out of bed. If you're not
no,
passionate about it, you're never going to get out of bed
could
because it's too hard. It's too hard.
it's a tough gig. It really is, and that's why only 4% of the population ever do it, and it's
Yeah.
at 100%. So looking forward for you and for Jobdeck, what does the future like for you guys, and what challenges do you think you might face, if any?
Oh, yeah. I think from the challenges going back to the previous point around AI, in that there's no barrier to entry now,
Yeah.
with respect to AI, that anyone can basically come into the market.
Yes.
Whether they've got recruitment experience that we've got, or they're just a software engineer, they can
Yep.
come in and say, "I've got this recruitment platform. Here's what I think is the issues," and they can just build it
Yep.
reasonably quickly. Um, so I think that lack of a moat and just no barrier to entry, I think is definitely going to be a
Yes.
challenge for us. What was the other point of that, Chris? Sorry, that's another part of that
And
question.
it was sort of what's the future look like, and what
Oh, the
challenges
future,
might
yes.
you
So the
face?
future, like I said, it's just continuing to build our SME presence.
Yep.
Uh, because I really think there's a market here where SMEs need to be supported. Yeah, and I
Yes.
think for us to be let's say the zero of recruitment within SMEs, like because every SME uses zero to do your accountancy.
Yep.
You know, if
Oh,
we,
great.
if we had that same
To
level
make
of
it.
penetration for recruitment,
Yep.
we'll be one of the largest businesses in the world, or certainly going that way. So I think that's the kind of level of ambition we have, and
Yep.
I think we can help that SME market to provide them an expert recruiter, but also make them kind of stand out within a very kind of a busy marketplace for really high quality talent.
Brilliant. Brilliant. And
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 about
okay.
the agentic stuff as well. Oh, sorry, Chris. I'm just about the kind of the agentic stuff as well. I think that
Yes.
would be quite interesting. I think they'll be a bit novel. And I think
Yep.
agentic, you're going to hear a lot of agentic. If you're in the AI space, agentic 2025 is going to be the thing. If you're not, you're probably not going to hear about it for another couple of years. Yeah.
Right. I'll be honest, I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is. So I think a
Yeah.
little bit of research on my part is due. So I'll have a look. I'll have a good look at that. I'm very much. I guess it's funny because I built and sold a technology company 20 years ago, but
Yeah.
I'm very very totally technologically inept now.
Yeah.
Except I'm starting to build just access into the very simple things on
Yeah.
AI, and you could just see that productivity, that capability
Yeah.
of mastering everything around you, just gives you that ability to be that person with an individual with £1 billion business. That's fascinating.
Yeah, because I think what the battlefield now, if you look at the big seven, at your kind of Googles and OpenAIs, um, is going to be just data, the
Yeah.
fight for data, to then like training data, to learn these models, and it
Yes.
is going to be how much power they need, because
Yes.
like OpenAI is nearly bankrupt, which is crazy, and it's worth billions and billions because it's spending money at a crazy rate because
Oh
it's
wow.
constantly learning and evolving. Yeah, so that's I think they raised something like 5 billion or something recently, and they're going through that money like it's going out of fashion because they're building these massive data farms,
Yes.
huge with incredibly fast chips, to suck in all this data to then learn the models to build these new models, at just an unbelievable rate. Like Musk with Grok, he's built a data center. He believes Grok will overtake OpenAI probably by the middle of this year
Right.
in what the model can actually do and
Yeah.
achieve for you. Because anyone can mess around with ChatGPT and say, write me a 5,000 word essay. My children love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. And, they're the kind of school age and they're absolutely loving it.
Ab-
What it can do for them.
Absolutely. And it as a way into understanding what the future could hold. and that could be, yeah, it's brilliant. But I mean, there's so many different things that, it's just amazing. Yeah, I'm blown away by it. Um, and I'm keen to know what you'd say to anyone that was thinking of going into business right now, Aidan.
I think really understand the niche. I think if you're going to go
Yes.
into, don't be a generalist.
Yeah.
Um, go into a very specific niche and really niche down into that area and really understand the detail of the area. We understand the pain points, whether there's commercial value there, what the target operating model is, what you could potentially grow. Um, because I think we made that mistake, even kind of job deck of being a bit too generalist, and now we're really focusing
Right.
down in a kind of niche because the software can work for any job in any industry. So you just think, well, I can speak to all these businesses,
Yes.
and it doesn't quite work. It doesn't quite land, and therefore being this expert and within a certain niche is certainly where we're
Yes.
kind of in the kind of sales conversation at the minute, and even building brands. So we've got a kind of ingredient jobs brand, which is just for food ingredients, which is Richard's kind of background. So we've now used the job
Okay.
tech with the ingredient jobs brand to then move into that kind of market. And we're potentially looking at is this a business model for ourselves? So we build brands that work within specific niches and that build talent pools, running the AI and the job matching and doing that at scale. So matching candidates to jobs at scale within these niches. Um, it's just an interesting kind of way that we're kind of thinking of going to market outside of the Jobdeck brand.
Yeah, it's something we work with businesses on is that, if your marketplace is this and it's very big, then the message, if a single message to that market is typically too dilute to attract any. There's a phrase I think that I like, which is if you go for everybody, you get nobody. Because
Yes.
and so, but you can address that market by lots of different sub-markets with a niche. When you're
Yeah.
really targeted, this is my niche, therefore I know their problems, I know our solution, how it fits. Then you can start to address it, but only by segmenting it, I think, really, really clearly. And it's yeah, no, it makes sense. But the temptation is, but I want to go, this
Yeah.
everybody needs it. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But
And that was our mistake, for a
yeah,
while. And that was our mistake, because we could speak to your Jet Twos, your Daily Mail groups, to anyone, SME around the corner. Kind of gym. We spoke with Starbucks in Leeds. We did a trial for those guys. A gym franchise. We did a trial for. It was literally
yeah,
anyone in any market we could actually service. So we spent a lot of our time speaking to all these different
yes,
places, and not really focusing on one. So yeah, so that's been our biggest learn for the last kind of 12
brilliant,
months.
brilliant. And finally, what would be the best advice you could give an 18-year-old you if you could go back in time and do that?
Uh, oh my God. Um, I don't know. Christ. That's
Okay.
yeah, because the journey I've been on has been so kind of enjoyable.
Yeah. No,
Um,
stay as you are. I mean, that's
Yeah, it's been the kind of making of me
yeah.
to have those ups and downs. Um, but I think just being, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I
maybe I've done university in a more of a traditional of instead of spending those 3 years at Nissan,
right.
I'd went straight through education to degree, and then that
You would
that
have
gave
it
all
would
me,
have made it might
yeah,
make you value the education more.
which it did, yeah,
There's a whole sliding doors thing here, isn't there? Is if I did
yeah,
anything
yeah.
different, I different. I think one thing quite a few people talk about is doing it quicker, faster, or earlier. If that makes sense. It's
Mhm.
just,
Yes,
I wish I'd done it when I was X rather than now, which doesn't necessarily relate to you, but I think that's something that having known what I know now, I might do something differently. Um,
yeah.
but
I think things work out for a reason, and they've worked out
yes.
really well. So I can't complain about anything that's happened
All
really.
good, all good. Well, Aidan, it's been really fascinating talking to you today. Thank you so much for being so open and sharing with your knowledge. For anyone that's watching that would like to get in touch with you or Jobdeck, what would be the best way to do that?
Yeah, so it's just Aidan at jobdeck.ai. Yeah, that would be the easiest. Just drop me a note. Yeah, and I'll come straight back to you. We'd love
Brilliant,
to meet new kind of clients, particularly SME clients. I think we've got a good solution, and I think we can really help you find those real high quality candidates
brilliant,
for
brilliant.
business.
Well, look, we obviously we love to swing by in another 6, 12 months as we've done here, just
Sounds good.
for an update and just see. And I'm really, really interested to see your views on how AI is developing in
Mhm.
general and some of the things
Yeah,
you talked about today. So, but for now, thank you so much,
that's good. Nice to meet you, Chris. Take care.
Angie.